Perfect. We are live. Welcome everybody. This is a live broadcast from LinkedIn, and today the topic is a feminine and a masculine leadership, as you can see below. What we are aiming today is to raise awareness on the qualities of masculine and feminine leadership and why they matter in not just in the workplace but also on our personal lives. It is quite actually a sticky and tricky, full of landmines topic, and for this reason, I invited Karthik Wood, is my ex-colleague and dear friend, but most of all, a very brave woman who speaks her mind. So, welcome to Karthik. Why don't you introduce briefly yourself?
Hi, I'm Karthik. I was born and brought up in Bombay, actually, in a South Indian family, and that's where I did all my education. But then I moved to London, Cambridge first, and then London, and this is where I've had all my professional life. And I worked in the city for a very, very long time in technology. So always been the only woman in the team. Basically, a lot of the times I've been the only woman in the team, and and currently, I'm a fintech entrepreneur. I'm working on 3 or 4 products which use artificial intelligence and machine learning. So that's me. That's a brief introduction about me.
Fantastic introduction. I think it's interesting our mix. Well, we are from opposite sex, obviously, but also we had a crossover between East and West cultures. We lived on both sides, and we complement each other. So let's start. We'll navigate through the differentiation of the quality, the integrations. Then we're gonna go in why that matters. But we will talk from our experience. So this is, I think, it's very key point. And I'm gonna put a disclaimer below that we don't have all the answers. So we would like really to provide. Very good questions for your reflection and your own leadership. And I will try to post the question that we go through. I will try to post them in the chat room that you will see on the right hand side of the live broadcast. We aim to stay 30 minutes. There will be a Q&A at the end for whoever wants to post a question. Please don't wait for the end of the broadcast. You can post it here any time. And if you want to come on stage at the end of 30 minutes, I will post a link. You can come if you're brave. And if you want to speak to us, you can also do that towards the end of the webinar. So the first question, actually, I was really intrigued from a conversation I had with Karthik, is about our cultural references, social, academic, religion, that have influenced our own definition of leadership. So Karthik, can you guide us through this image they're going to put on the screen? Here we go. So this is quite complex image from the Indian religion. So we'll leave it to you to give us a view of what it means and unpack the ancient wisdom behind it.
Sure. Thanks, Max. So firstly, I'll say when I first encountered this image, actually. So obviously, like I said to you, I was born in Bombay, but I used to go down to southern India during my summer holidays. So when I was 5 years old, I went to this temple and I saw this image that we have in front of us, Lord Ardhanarishwar. And the meaning of Ardhanarishwar means half man, half woman, half male, half female, basically. The first time I saw this image, I was not captivated, I can tell you that, because normally temples are beautiful, there's wonderful statues, it's a really gorgeous, gorgeous place, right? But this image did not captivate me at all, basically. Fast forward 20 years, I was in London, I was in a temple, basically in Tooting, and I saw this image again, and that got me thinking, actually. And I started wondering about what is this, and that's when I started doing a bit more research, basically. And what is Ardhanarishwar, actually? Ardhanarishwar, as the name, Sanskrit name says, is half male, half female. But it talks about feminine and masculine energies really coming together in one form. And that itself is quite powerful for us as an image to see, but also to accept that, that both energies coexist in one place. How does that happen, basically? And then when you start doing a bit more research, actually, it seems like, when we go through family life, say, for example, when you have children, for example, irrespective of whether you're a mother or a father, it seems that we have to use both traits, both, feminine traits, masculine traits, to be a good parent, basically. So it seems like both these energies exist in us. And then let's go to workplace, basically. When you are a team player, I think you use both energies, masculine and
Yeah.
feminine energies. You have to sometimes treat your team members with a certain amount of empathy, basically, and sometimes you have to give them direction, which is considered to be a masculine trait. So I think even as team members, we are constantly using both these traits. And I thought I was very unique, in using both these traits. But when I saw this image, I said, okay, our ancestors thought about this 2,000 years ago, actually, and they've got this in this image, basically. So, I mean, that got me thinking, and and I think it's important to acknowledge that we as human beings carry both feminine and masculine energies, carry both these traits, and we have to firstly, we have to acknowledge that we carry these traits, and then we have to harness them, nourish them, so that we can get better at
Yeah.
using these energies, basically. And this is just me talking about being a good team member. And then, of course, we can talk about leadership as we go through the topic.
Yeah, two things that are quite interesting. First of all, you said this is something that comes from your childhood, from your religious education, but it took quite a long time to process all the meaning, because you need to have your life experience in order to really to make sense. And I think even when you go further down the line in your life, it still has some surprises, probably even today. For me, it was interesting when you said there's a personal life and there's a professional life. We tended to draw a line and use different energies depending on where we are. So what's your experience in using the feminine, the masculine in your personal life versus the professional environment?
So I think in my personal life, I have to say I try to exercise my feminine energies, and what I mean by that is, I try to be more creative in my home front, basically. So I pursue hobbies like cooking and yoga and things, more feminine traits, basically. And of course, I'm a mother as well, so I do have to exercise more feminine traits. But when I'm at work, I think because also I'm a woman in technology and I'm surrounded by men, I just automatically, just by association, I think I exercise more of my male traits, if you like. If I reflect upon my career and the way I behave, and the way I adapt to the situations, I feel that I find it easier when I adapt more masculine traits, basically. But if I'm in a management position or a leadership position, I have also noticed that I am more feminine, because I just care for my team. I just make sure that I'm not lumbering them. I'm giving them the space to think and be creative, basically. So I think both energies, but I mean, but initial phases of my career, I think I did use more masculine energy, basically.
I think we share this experience, because I come from a banking technology experience. This is where we met actually a few years back. And it is to date, I would say, quite a male-dominated area. There's a vast majority of men. So I guess that it can be that energy can be overwhelming at times, and it's not really balanced, I would say.
I mean, I actually enjoy it, because I'm so used to using my male energy, basically. But having said that, I will always make sure that over the weekend, I pursue a lot of my feminine, hobbies, if that makes sense. Be dancing, be cooking. It's coming from a place of wanting to balance myself, if that makes sense.
So interesting, your experience saying even if there can be imbalances depending on the environment, situations, it's important for you to exercise your full qualities, maybe in different times, but that will give you balance.
Yeah, because I think by weekend I was always very keen to do something creative actually, and I think I
Yeah.
recognize now that it's because I'm only using my or mostly using masculine trait at work. So my inner sense is craving to exercise my feminine energy, perhaps. Perhaps.
No, but yeah, I brought up again this image because for me it was interesting how this is not a new topic. This image has thousands of years of it's been out there for a very long time, and they at the time they already understood that the integration of all these qualities is absolutely the key. I wanted to share a bit more my experience. I come a little bit more from a Western, what we call classic culture. So when I was a kid, actually, these are the kind of images that I grew up with. On the Greek mythology, come back with your shield or on it. It actually was a sentence from the Spartan women, mothers actually, from the Spartan mothers to the sons going to battle and say, look, this is a one-way street. Or you go and win, or you come back dead directly on your shield. Quite a binary choice, very, very difficult. So I didn't get it at the time, it was just stories when I grew up. But then I realized over the years how this kind of mentality and mindset is quite embedded across leadership, especially the work in the Western world. I'm not saying this is the only view, but it's quite heavy in terms of risk taking, in terms of focusing on winning, and also on setting up for failure, because if you can always win, and the shame that comes from losing your battles at times can be unbearable. In the Greek world, was very common actually suicide, because the weight of shame was simply not possible. So it took me, as for you, it took me a really long time to get over some of the stereotypes or models that it comes from our cultures. So I think I'm not going to read it. No, I don't want to kill anybody at 5:00. You already had a long day. Death about PowerPoint is not on the card. I will share these slides, and then after this meeting. I think it's very important to understand what the qualities are, is unpack and see the qualities that we call masculines when they are the positive, because being driven, direct, confident, problem solving, and goal. And again, as you said, Karthik, this is not driven by biology. We call it energy. Versus when they go below the line and they becomes man up, bullying, aggressive, and all the stuff that goes with the negative side. Again, apologies if I'm going very quickly. I will share with you, but this is a feminine qualities, which is empathic, intuition, relationships. These are the best of what we know as a feminine qualities versus what can be avoidance of being victim, not good enough, when those qualities are not played at the right level. So that could be a very quick reference for everybody to get a bit of a reflection on where you are on your journey. But let's go back to our experience, Karthik. Sure. Where are you today in your journey? If you're looking at the leadership qualities that you would like to grow or rebalance, what would you aim to focus on?
I mean, in my personal life or professional life?
I would say let's talk about professional life first, and then if you wish, we can go over personal. And let us focus on the workplace.
Sure. So, like I said, my initial career, I have been very, very masculine, if you like. I feel like I use more of my masculine energy. And of course, now I'm a fintech entrepreneur, so I do have the liberty to kind of use the energies that I want to use. So I would say that now I really want to use a lot more of my feminine energy at workplace. And being a fintech entrepreneur, I think I'm hoping that I will get an opportunity to use my creative energy, basically, So, I mean, I would love to be more creative at workplace. And of course, we'll be building a team of really good people. So I'm hoping to use my intuition as well, to kind of ensure that we have a good team,
Yeah.
basically, that will go, that who will travel with us in this long journey that I hope we will have, and I hope it will be successful as well, basically. Having said that, I will also be using my masculine traits around direction and deliveries, basically, or action, basically, if that makes sense. I was just trying to memorize all the traits that you had in your slides,
Yeah.
Max. But yes,
I
yeah.
really like when you put in intuition and creativity together. There seems to be a link in there. So how can you activate those qualities? We know that product innovation in the workplace is highly prized. Getting new products and new ideas is at the core of keeping business sustainable and profitable. But how can you provide those qualities and making sure that they shine, but also being contagious and influence others with the same energy?
Firstly, I'll say that, I think I've always been a creative person. And going through the corporate journey that I have gone through, I've seen a lot of problems and problem areas, if you like, and I've always thought about, okay, these are lots of problems in organization. How can we resolve it, basically? And of course, I'm very, very lucky to have very good co-founders with me who understand data science really well. I think it gives me a fabulous platform to be creative, basically. But I think to set up a creative team, you need to have creative individuals, Max. I think people who are genuinely creative, basically, and who carry this energy of wanting to make a difference, basically. I think that is very, very key. And I think when we are expanding our company, that's a key trait that we look for in the people that we want to bring with us in this journey, basically. So, I mean, and also what is very important for us is, people who have spent a little bit of time in self-reflection. I think it's important to kind of work with people who reflect on themselves, who have focused on inner engineering, if that makes sense, because people who have gone in that inside journey, because to be a better human, to be a better manager, to be a better leader, you need to have gone into that inner journey, basically. And it's very, very easy to spot people who have done that, actually, because if you have done in the inner engineering yourself, you spotted the individuals who are also in that same journey. And I think that's why we get on well, Max.
Yeah, I think even this broadcast live, it requires a creativity and intuition, because we are dancing in the moment. We don't have a script. We talked about it in terms of ideas, but we haven't planned or really scripted all those questions. From my perspective, I think it's a similar thing. I would like to bring all these qualities. That it seems to be the trick. Not being only one-way street and only limited subset of skills, but bring everything on the plate. In my coaching journey, it was quite different, because I moved from a corporate career where I exercise, I would say, mostly my masculine abilities. But when moving to coaching, I had actually to pay more attention to feminine qualities like listening, empathy, and especially when you process emotions. But I tended to overlook my masculine sides. And in coaching, there's a point where you need to move into action. You need to forward the actions in order to learn and then move on with your life in the direction that you want. So I think our conversation also sparked for me the vision that I needed to get the best of the two worlds in service for my clients. At the end of the day, it's important for me to find my true self, but then you provide a better service to your clients as well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, sorry, just adding a thought there, actually, Max, is that, Ardhanarishwar, which is the topic of discussion today, it also kind of says that, in a woman we find a man, and in a man we find a woman, basically. And I think that's exactly where we are as well, because I can relate to the masculine energies and masculine traits that I carry. And like you say, in your coaching journey, you have discovered and nurtured a lot of feminine traits that you carry, basically. And we all carry, different energies with us. But it's having the ability to identify them, nourish them, and use them to your advantage, basically.
Yeah. So it requires you to step back and reflect, and having conversation like we are having right now, with your friends, colleagues, other people. I think it's important to open up, and it's difficult just to see and spot and buy on your own. You need to have that space where you can openly compare and discover, because I think what we're doing here, there's a lot of mirroring in our qualities, and there's quite a revelation sometimes through these conversations. I have a question, so I'm just looking at the live chat. Fascinating topic. Hi. We have. I wonder if corporates have these qualities intentionally or unintentionally. I'm not sure if I get that question.
Corporates, is that a corporates is the word?
Yeah, corporates. I think this is probably a good question, in the sense, are we complete leaders in our corporate environments? That is very personal. It goes on to personal, but let's have a look at maybe first upwards and then downwards. What kind of leadership do we see in our own experience, Karthik? In our own world, what kind of upwards senior management leadership we see? Are they completely integrated, or there are biases?
I mean, I have to say that in my experience, I have seen more masculine leadership at workplace. Perhaps because of the places that I worked in, but masculine leadership is what I see. And sometimes I have witnessed the positive masculine traits, but often I also see the negative masculine traits, if that makes sense. And it doesn't matter if it's a male leader or a female leader. I think it's the masculine traits that we see more in leadership positions, is what I'm saying. And I think that's where the recalibration needs to happen, perhaps, because the world needs good leaders in general. Corporates need good leaders, and I think it's time to use our feminine energies more.
How do we do that? This is a very hot topic. It's been going on for quite some times, but it seems to be offline conversations. But then when you go back to the front line, you go to work. You need to deliver a project. Things has to be done my way or the highway. Seems to be to take a priority over everything. Does it have to be that way? What is the alternative?
I think, to be fair, a lot of the organizations, especially who are on the innovation journey, do accept that failure is fine. People are beginning to accept that failure is okay. It's not final. Basically, what is important is we remain creative, basically. Because creativity is key at this point in time. Given where we are in the life cycle, basically. I mean, new technologies are coming in all the time, so we have to be creative to survive, basically. So if that's what needs to happen in organizations, I think it's also time for us to change our leadership style, actually, and embrace a bit more creative energies, basically.
This is I thought about it. This is a key topic because it requires behavioral change.
It does.
Live. As it happens, in the midst of meetings, senior management, board or larger committees. So there needs to be an agreement. It can only start from a single individual. Individuals can spark some changes, but it has to come top down from the very senior levels to highlight what behaviors are okay and what not. When we are talking about creativity and acceptance of failure, that needs to be celebrated, for instance. So that is for me, is kind of switch that has to change in order to see an environment where we thrive and without that fear, and shift to openness.
I mean, I just want to kind of say something that I've experienced as a mother, actually. So when my son was learning to walk, as he would take a step, he would fall. He would take a step, he would take two steps, he would fall, basically. And I would keep telling him it's okay, till he actually started to walk, basically. And I think we need to do something similar, basically, in our innovation journey, because nobody is going to set up an innovative product and it starts running, it goes live, goes in production. It doesn't happen quite like that. You have to be patient, and you have to actually genuinely give innovation a shot, actually, just like we did when we were learning to walk, or when we were teaching our children to walk, basically. I think it's very simply just that. I mean, we can make it complex if we want, basically, but organization is full of people. It's about having individuals who acknowledge both the feminine and the masculine traits in them. I know I'm trying to make this sound so simple, but really it is actually that simple. But yet making it a reality will take a lot of self-reflection and accepting that, I suppose for some men it would be difficult to accept that they have feminine traits. I don't know, basically. But for me, it's great that, when I think that, hey, I got masculine traits, I don't feel bad about it. I feel happy that, hey, I've got masculine traits and I've got feminine traits as well. And that's brilliant, actually, because you can have opposite traits in you, basically. It's being okay that you carry opposite traits in yourself, actually.
Yeah, so accepting sometimes paradoxes,
Yes.
we are living paradox. But I really like the comment from Porrick. It's a great point. Actually, lifted the weight, because in my mind, I was thinking, how can you be all this? It's a lot of qualities, a lot of slides, it's a lot of stuff in there. How can you be all this at the same time? But actually, what he said, that is the sum of the team actually in which you work, that will create actually the environment. We don't have to be all that all the time.
Yeah.
That if we are collaborative and we lean on each other, on our best traits, and accepting differences and diversity, they will give us the best of both worlds, the feminine and masculine.
I love that comment, actually, because I have to say, if I can accept opposite traits in myself, I can actually be a bit more accepting to people with different qualities, You know what I'm saying? Because if you accept that you are a mishmash, actually, of different opposing traits, actually, it makes your mind more open to people with different traits, actually. So it's a win-win situation.
And also, final point, I'm quoting Parek today. You're the superstar here. I'm giving us so much ideas, but actually, all this should be embedded into the DNA of the company, of the organization. It should go into the brand, and see, and from all levels, bottom up and top or bottom, everybody should walk the talk, in order to, making all those changes in behavior acceptable and living that kind of diversity. So all this seems to make a business sense. This is all fine for self-realization. So we are better individual, we accept our own truth, but it also makes sense for the organizations and for the greater good. For me, creativity, work-life balance, but also I think there's a big point that we don't want to have the line in the sand between work and personal life. Yes, there are roles, responsibilities, there are differences, but we don't need to be necessarily that different. And we can use different energies as is needed, but we don't need to put a mask as such. What do you think, Kartik? How do we create the balance?
I think to create, I mean, it certainly really depends on the environment you're in, actually, to be fair. If you are in an environment where easy to be yourself, then of course, you will be. But I mean, that takes time, because you need to build a culture of trust, basically, where people feel that they can be comfortable and transparent, basically. So that involves a lot of transparency within the organization, and that takes time to build as well, because culturally, corporate, for many, many years, we've been thinking that, this does not work in corporate life. You cannot talk about your family life, or you cannot, you have to be a certain way, basically, at work. And I think one of the good things of COVID is that, we are becoming more and more accepting that people have family life, because people are working from home, you know so it's kind of opened a really nice window of opportunity, basically, where we can actually relate more to, personal and professional life, so that thick line that we had in between has starting to kind of get a bit thinner, if you like.
Absolutely, and I think what we're doing here on LinkedIn is a testimonial. LinkedIn has shifted really from being a professional platform to be a social platform. We see more and more posts of people revealing their the person behind the professional person, and being more and more authentic. I think we need to have more of this conversation and open up. And the window opportunity you mentioned, I think, is right here, right now, open to everybody. Kathy, we are running out of time, 30 minutes. I said that we were going to leave it. If anybody has further questions, but that's what we could go on and on this conversation.
I think this
please.
Yeah, I think this is a super, super interesting topic, isn't it, Max? I mean, we can talk about it for hours and hours together, basically. But it is there. I think we have an opportunity now to kind of explore both our energies and accept that, opposite energies can survive in the same being, basically. Because when we accept that, I think we evolve more, we become richer as individuals, we become better humans, and also will become better leaders, basically.
That's wonderful. We had also a comment from Rob Stewart here. We take ourselves wherever we go, and all skills and energy is transferable. Awareness that we have them, and they're not limited by geography, is a superpower. I think this is very much linked to what you said. In our remote world, we broke down we brought down walls. And the geography doesn't seem to be a limitation as it used to be. So this is a beautiful concept of transferable energy in service of ourselves, but also for our communities. Okay, so Kathy, thank you very much for joining me in this tricky topic. Thank you for the good question participation that we got from our crowd. I will post those couple of slides for your reflection soon after the webinar is closed, and hopefully we're gonna have a follow-up at some point, Kathy, so we can continue this conversation and evolution of the discussion. So thanks everybody, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.